Under Indonesia's new order, we invaded East Timor in 1975, and there was a long process of systematic violence that impacted the community in a major way. East Timor had the opportunity for a UN-sponsored ballot, and East Timor became an independent country. In Aceh, also a long protracted conflict. There was competition for controlling gas and oil and natural resources was very much a part of the conflict that was happening there. But a tsunami, 26 December 2004, shocked all the parties, and a peace process began, which then resulted in the Helsinki Memorandum and special autonomy for Aceh. I think comparing Aceh and Timor-Leste's long journey for truth and justice is a very useful exercise because they're really a mirror image of each other. And most importantly for us is the promise to establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission and also a court with the jurisdiction over crimes against humanity and genocide.
KKR itu berdiri, muncul, lahir setelah belasan tahun. Saat itu KKR Aceh dibentuk dengan kanun. Kemenkumham menyatakan KKR Aceh sah demi hukum walaupun tidak ada undang-undang KKR nasional. Bisa bekerja dan dia statusnya sebagai lembaga negara yang berwenang melakukan pengungkapan kebenaran, melakukan pendekatan rekonsiliasi, kemudian melakukan rekomendasi terkait dengan reparasi. Dalam rangka kami melakukan pengungkapan kebenaran, ada 3 kasus yang sudah selesai BAP-nya. Seperti yang sudah dilakukan penyidikan dan penyelidikan terhadap Simpang KKA, kemudian kasus rumah gedung dan Jambu Kupuk. Kemudian langkah-langkah strategis yang lain bahwa KKR sudah merekomendasikan 5.624 korban dari 14 kabupaten kota.
Currently, Indonesia has just conducted a small exercise where some victims' stories were documented by the PPHAM, the Team for Gross Human Rights Violations, and there seems to be a disconnect between PPHAM and the Aceh Truth Commission. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing so far. In parallel with that, Timor-Leste also established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which was called the CAVR. And the CAVR took more than 8,000 statements from survivors and witnesses, conducted public hearings, community reconciliation processes. However, after 2005, the Truth Commission published its report entitled Chega. There was a long silence. It took another 12 years before Timor-Leste finally established the Centro National Chega, independent body under the Prime Minister's office with a mandate to ensure the recommendations of the Truth Commission are implemented.
Centro Nacional Chega started using this old prison in 2017 as our office, but also as a memorial and a museum of human rights. In the last 20 years, the government have allocated a lot of resources to make sure that the veterans, the combatants, receive enough and sufficient support from the government, while victims and survivors are not really become the main interest so far. So what we do as the Centro Nacional Chega here, we can see that in the last 3 years there are significant support to support the work of civil society, but also to ensure the line ministries understand how to integrate some of the transitional justice mechanism into their policy. So that can be seen since 2018, where Centro Chega and some of the line ministries start to implement some of the mechanism, like institutional reform, some of the reparation program, some of the right to know program. It was implemented jointly between Centro Chega, civil society, and also the government institutions. So I must say that in the last 3 years, there are quite some significant changes. While not all the survivors get the benefit, but it's moving toward the right direction.
So I think the key lesson that we have learned from Aceh and Timor-Leste is the need for a strong push around community reparations. So we need to make sure that there is recognition, that we fight against stigma, that there's livelihood support, psychosocial assistance, services, and material support for survivors. I think we can also think about the principle of helping victims to create a life plan, that they're empowered, that they can co-create their lives in their communities. If we cannot yet get the national public apology, then we do need to have the apologies at the local level, the acknowledgement of the facts, and the acceptance of responsibilities. Even if it's still too difficult to get justice from the courts or to have sanctions of perpetrators, we have to make sure that victims and survivors and their families are seen as having a special role in the creation of a new society. Intergenerational dialogue is also really important, including making sure that the local content of education, when we're studying about the history of our communities, include the history of human rights violations and the role of survivors in, first of all, the harm that they experienced during the situation of conflict and when the human rights violations took place, but also their resilience and their role in being the voice, the moral voice of a better future where there's justice and there's equality and the protection of all human rights for everyone.